Welcome to The Unedited Woman, where you'll hear candid conversations to improve your everyday life. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Unedited Woman. I am so excited for today's episode. I have in the studio with me emotional regulation coach Amy Mason. Amy is so talented in so many ways. I had the absolute privilege of coming into your sphere about 18 months ago now, and the work that we did together, which we'll talk about in a little bit, completely changed my life. And from this, we've formed this beautiful friendship, which I absolutely adore. And you've just become an absolute soul sister and somebody that I'm able to run things by and collaborate with. And so many beautiful things have come from this friendship, which I love. So without further ado, to kick off this episode, Amy, I would love for you to share with everyone, what is it that you're here to do? What is the mission that you're on? What mark do you want to leave on this world?
Great question to kick things off.
It's a biggie.
It is. We're going deep and we're doing it quick. I love it. What am I here to do? I honestly believe at this point in my life, I'm here to just help people come back to themselves, really turn inwards, because I find that everybody that I'm working with is constantly looking for external validation or answers that are somewhere out here, but everything is already within us. And just coming back to stillness, people struggle so hard with, and so allowing people to come back
that's
themselves.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? So many people who I encounter on a day-to-day basis, friends, family, clients, and even myself, I'll be totally honest, we get caught up in this rush, we get caught up in the doing, the externals, and yet so often the answers that we're looking for are actually within us. And the only way that you can ever hear those answers, to hear the messages that your body's communicating to you, is to slow down.
Right.
And to actually tune in, which is so powerful. What on earth, for those listening, is an emotional regulation coach? Help me understand.
Okay, so there's a lot of things that I do and a lot of modalities that I work with, and I didn't want to go by just one of them anymore, which is what I was doing for a little while when I, identified as a breathwork coach. But there's so much more depth to what I'm offering. So an emotional regulation coach essentially is me helping you learn how to respond to all things life versus react. And then I utilize all of the modalities and all of everything that I have under my belt to teach you how to do that. So how to really respond to things rather than react.
Yeah, so it's almost like helping people, like you said, come back to themselves and to move through the world more consciously and more connected.
Yeah.
Because we are so reactive, aren't we?
Yeah.
Meditation for me has been such a pivotal part of my practice and my development, and it's the thing that's really allowed me to learn how to find that pause and find that stillness, because I used to move through life so reactive, and it would come out in all ways. It wasn't just, the typical things like being on the road and having road rage. It was things like the way I would communicate with my loved ones or my team at work, and it wasn't coming from a place of love. It was coming from a place of fear. And I think that's, it's almost like the brain's trying to keep you safe. And so you go straight into that reactive response. But if you just take a moment to pause, to breathe, and to actually become conscious to what's around you and what's happening, so often that initial way that you want to respond isn't actually necessary. There's so many other ways that you can approach a situation that leave you feeling so much better about yourself, because nobody feels good when they blow off the handle, yell at their kids, have an argument with their partner. Nobody wants to be living life like that, and yet we seemingly do, because a lot of the time we don't know any other way. We haven't been shown any other way. So it's so amazing that you help people learn how to do that.
Yeah, and it's, that was a big part of my journey. I was a very, very reactive person, very reactive.
I want to go there. Oh my God, where do we start? It's where do we start? All right. Even though I've known you for about 18 months, we've kind of loosely talked about your story, but we have never kind of gone really into it.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that today. Can we do that today?
Yeah,
amazing.
Let's do that.
Okay. So let's go back 4 or 5 years ago. What did life look like then?
Oh my God, it was completely different. Like everything about my life was completely different. 5 years ago, I was engaged to somebody that's not my now husband. So I was in a very different long-term relationship. I was a hairdresser. I owned a salon. I worked a lot within the hair industry, also within sales and education. And I had a addiction to alcohol and all things that, you know, kind of come with that party life as well. I didn't sleep. And I thought I was living my best life. Like deep down, I knew that I was absolutely miserable. But on the outside, I was like, I'm living my best life. I'm having so much fun. But, you know, I was in a relationship that I wasn't supposed to be in anymore. It wasn't serving either of us. At that point, I was in friendships that were so incredibly just like surface level, where it was, you know, we couldn't really have a conversation if we weren't drinking or we weren't at a bar or we weren't like out at a restaurant or a cafe.
And were these people that you'd had in your life for a long time?
Yeah.
Or it's
like
crazy,
a long
isn't it?
time.
Yeah.
Such a long time. And like none of those people are a part of my life anymore. Like not even one, which is the wildest thing.
Yeah. And if you told Amy 5 years ago that all of these things were going to happen, there's probably no way you would have believed it, right?
No way.
So like looking back then, what do you think was important to you? Like what was driving you at that point?
I don't even know. I think it was honestly the thing that was pushing me the most was let's just not be home, because home was so unsafe in a way that like I just didn't feel comfortable and I didn't want to be there because it was awkward. It didn't feel nice to be at home. So I was pushing myself into work. And then when I wasn't working, you know, because I literally could only work like a 14-hour day. Everybody else was like, I don't want to come and get my hair done at 11 p.m.
Okay.
And I was like,
but why?
Why?
I'm here, ready to go.
I'm ready. Why? What do you mean why? So it was like when I wasn't working stupid hours, it was like, okay, I'm going to quickly get changed and go out for dinner with this friend. And then I'm going to go meet that friend at a bar. And then we're going to go to this club. And then I'm just going to be out all night, come home, have maybe a 2-hour nap, have a shower, and then go back into a like 12-hour day. Yeah. And just do everything and anything to avoid being alone or being home or being with my fiance.
And why do you think you stayed for as long as you did? Like obviously we know what happened and, you know, in a beautiful loving marriage, but at that point, looking back at that version of yourself, what do you think kept you there? Not you obviously, or did you know, or was it unconscious or was it conscious, this disconnect that you were feeling with this person? And yeah, why did you stay?
I stayed for probably about 5 years longer than I should have. I knew that I shouldn't be there. I think deep down he also knew that as well, but it was so convenient and it was so easy. And, you know, we kind of got to the point where we were just housemates and we would attend weddings or functions and birthdays together and we would show up and we would, you know, we were both happy in our own rights, but not collectively. And if you've seen us, because we were both so individually happy, nobody noticed that we never sat next to each other. Nobody noticed that we would never hold hands or we would always literally be on the opposite side of the room. I'm having this conversation over there, he's having that conversation over there, but we were never together.
Yeah.
No one noticed. And
you were young when you got together, I'm imagining.
Yeah, we were 15.
Oh my goodness, a high school sweetheart.
High school sweethearts. We were together for 15 years.
Wow. Oh my goodness. It's so interesting as you were describing that. Like I'm just thinking to myself, there's probably so many people that are listening to this episode going, but that's the relationship I have with my current partner. And it's really crazy because you don't know how good it can be until you experience it. At the same time, like I think you get so used to being okay with what you have. Like
I feel like I was the opposite though. Like I knew that there was better. Like in terms of like I knew not that there was better than him.
Yeah.
But that there like
a better quality relationship on offer.
A relationship shouldn't be like this. Like there should be so much more love and so much more intimacy and like we should want to spend time together and not do the absolute most to not be spending time with each other, right? And when we were just together, like just us, there was no conversation. There was nothing to talk about. It was a bit like, how was your day? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you said, like housemates.
Yeah, like literally like housemates, like, oh yeah, did you work today? Like, was it all right? Do you want dinner tonight?
Cool.
Like, I'm cooking anyway.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. And I knew deep within me that that wasn't it, right? And my parents are still married, and that's not a relationship that I look up to either. So I was like, okay, I know that you can stay together and you can be with somebody and it not be glamorous and beautiful and super loving, but that's also a choice that you make whether you stay or not. And I knew that there was better. And when I had this conversation with like a very small handful of people, everybody said the same thing to me. The grass isn't always greener.
Because they're coming from a place of fear.
Right?
Yeah.
And
keeping you small because they don't,
Yeah. And a lot of the time when I would have these conversations, I would then look at them and be like, okay, but you're also not in a relationship that I would want to be in.
Totally.
And like you're talking so much shit about your partner constantly. And that's also a relationship that I don't want to be in. Like I don't want to do that. It just doesn't come from a nice place. And I think at one point my mum knew that I was going to leave. And like we had never had the conversation, but I just think there was something within her that knew, and she told me not to. She said, don't do it. Don't leave. Like, and she said some things that were really not very nice, and they kind of went a little like, you know, you'll never find somebody else who's going to put up with your shit and love you. Like, you just need to stay. Like, he's a good person. So just stay, even if it's not everything that you think it should be. So I did, because a big part of me was like, well, shit.
That's my mum telling me this.
If that's what my mother thinks, like my mum doesn't think that I can be loved by anybody else, well, then probably nobody else will love me. Like, she's got to have some weight here. So I stayed for for 5 years, and it got to the point where I was so sick, like physically ill.
How did that manifest?
So I was, for probably like maybe 3.5 years after I had that conversation with my mum, so maybe a year and a half later, started getting really bad stomach pains and bloated and all this stuff, and started going to doctors and whatever else. And they were very much saying, you know, you've got IBS, which I didn't have. You've got this, didn't have that. You've got this, it's going to be this. Had all of these tests done, there was nothing. Okay, well, maybe it's food intolerances. So did the whole FODMAP thing, removed the garlic and removed the onion, and was eating nothing but boiled carrot, and was still
mean that.
So sick. And it just got to the point where, you know, I was working with GPs and specialists and naturopaths and like all of these holistic practitioners, but then still everybody within the Western medicine like system as well. And everybody was kind of just like, well, it's got to be this or it's got to be that, but nobody could actually pinpoint it, right? And I got to the point where I was so sick that I couldn't even eat. Like I would eat and then literally within 30 seconds end up on the toilet and then just like be there for the longest time. And when I left that relationship, I was instantly better. Like instantly. And like that was probably, I don't even know, like 3 years ago that I left maybe. Yeah. And have not had a single episode like that since. Like the day that I left,
so crazy.
I was instantly just better, and I can eat all the garlic and all the onion and be so fine.
Normally.
And I don't have, you know, IBS, and I don't have all of these other things that they kept telling me that I had. It was just chronic stress. And this, like my body going, what are you doing here?
I'm feeling so
you
unsafe.
need to move.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. My head's just like spinning. It's so crazy how much our bodies try and communicate with us. Like all the time, constantly. And yet we're just so conditioned to, in our Western society, to feel a symptom, to go to the doctor. And like, by the way, I'm not advocating for not going to the doctor. I think that doctors are incredibly important, but you know your body better than anyone. I was just chatting to my best friend about this on a walk this morning. You know, she's not feeling great. And I said, and she spoke to a doctor who was like, oh, well, you're not due for this, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, you come back. And I said, no. Like if you're feeling it, just get it checked out. But I think that it's also really important to look at all factors. Like it's, you know, and especially after doing my breathwork facilitator training recently, which we can chat about, like how many times have you been to the GP and the doctors said, okay, cool, let me just check your breathing?
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, right?
It doesn't happen.
Or even like, how's your sleep? Like maybe you hear that every now and then, but like they're just like these most basic foundational things that are free, and yet we're not looking at those things as a way to nourish and restore the body. It's always like what prescription, what pill.
This is exactly what I meant earlier when I said we've got to come back to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we've got to come back inwards, and that doesn't necessarily look like, you know, sitting in meditation for 3 hours a day. That looks like, what are my stress levels? How's my like how is my sleep quality? What am I eating? What am I drinking? And like am I actually like nurturing and nourishing myself and my body? Because if I'm not, what am I going to the GP for? Because I need to get all of this under control first and then see how I'm feeling. And then if I still have all of these symptoms, then we go.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you didn't want to go home because you didn't want to be in that environment, but you also said, and I didn't want to be alone. What were you running from within yourself?
Everything. Because I knew, like I had the answer. I knew what I needed to do. But I was so scared to do it because everybody was telling me I was fucking crazy. Everybody was like, you know, your life is perfect. You've got the dream business. You're working for yourself. You've got all of the cars. You've got all of the toys. You go on holidays every year. Like your life is...
You owned your own home at the time, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys had a house together.
We had a house together. You know, I had a successful business. He had a successful business. We went... like we had all of these amazing like toys in terms of like camping. We had the car and all like the amazing setup and the jet skis and all of the things. So from an outside perspective, everybody was like, you're fucking nuts. Like, does love really matter that much? And I was
some
just
people,
like,
maybe it doesn't,
I feel like it does because
it kind of does. Yeah.
like I have all of these things, and although it might seem like we look happy from the outside, I'm miserable on the inside. Like I can't even have a conversation with this man. I can't sit with him for more than 20 minutes because it's just awkward because neither of us have anything to say.
So what was the moment? Like obviously there would have been a point where you were like, I'm doing this. I'm walking away from an engagement. I'm walking away from a home. Like what was that moment and what did it look like and how did you do it?
It was the wildest experience. So we had just spent 4.5 weeks on a camping trip with, I think it was like 5 other couples. So living on the road, but same thing, constantly just being immersed in everybody else. And even when we were in the car driving, everybody was talking via the walkie-talkie things. So we didn't need to speak because everybody was communicating through the radio and all of the things. And just watching how the other couples were, I was like, this definitely is not it. And then we came home, and the weekend that we got home, we had a catch-up planned with a group of friends of ours, and there was 3 other couples plus us. And we went to this, like one of their houses. They prepared dinner for us. It was a beautiful catch-up. And, you know, I just noticed how they were all moving forward in their lives, right? So like my ex and I were together for 15 years. He proposed at I think like the 10.5-year mark and then refused to marry me. So I planned 2 weddings that he cancelled.
Ooh.
We had an engagement party, I think, because he couldn't cancel. Like that one was too easy. He was just like, okay, I'll go along with this one.
He had to rock up to that.
He had to rock up to that one. But he couldn't commit to the wedding, and like he actually cancelled. Like we had a celebrant ready, we'd had like the conversations, I had a wedding ring, like a wedding band already, I had a dress.
What do you think it was?
Because he knew that it wasn't supposed, like he knew deep down that he didn't love me, and he knew deep down that this wasn't it, and that was then going to kind of set it in concrete, right? And I was just watching and listening to our friends. Like, one was pregnant at the time, one had just gotten engaged, one was planning their wedding, and they were so happy and they were just taking these steps and like, you know, moving forward within not just their lives, but their relationships. And I was just sitting there going, we're just not doing that. Like, we are so stuck. We've done nothing. We've been together for 15 years and we own a house and we got engaged and we've done 2 things. And there's nothing else that we do together. Like, we're just not moving forward. And that was the breaking point for me. Like, just being in that space with our friends and just watching them, like, being so happy. And same thing, I was like, that's it. Like, that's what it's supposed to be like. And we got home that night. I was about to have an anxiety attack because I could just feel it in my body. Like, my body had almost had enough. Like, I didn't even make the decision, my body did. And I was on this end of the couch over here and he was on that end of the couch because, you know, God forbid we ever sat actually next to each other.
God forbid your skins rubbed ways.
No, not doing that. And he turned around and looked at me and said, hey, like, what movie do you want to watch? And I just looked at him and said, I think we need to break up. And he was like, is that a movie?
The breakup. Let me just look at Netflix has that.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
And he was like, what? And I was like, I think we need to break up. And it, like, I didn't even have control. It kind of just happened because in that moment it was kind of like, if you don't do this now, you're going to die in your sleep tonight. Like, that's how severe the pain was in my body. Like, you either do this now or you don't wake up tomorrow. Like, it's one or the other because we can't keep trying to do both. And he just looked at me and was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know, we just went on this holiday and we just had lunch with our friends and like we were just going to watch him. Like, what is happening? And I remember just saying to him, like, if you can look me in the eyes right now and tell me that you are in love with me, we'll try to make it work. And he just couldn't do it.
Wow.
And I was like, you know, we have, like, at the time we weren't even quite 30 yet. And I just said to him, like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, you deserve to be happy. I deserve to be happy. And I don't want to start a family with you and then in 15 years resent you because I hate you in this moment and you don't love me either. And then we have to get a divorce when we've got 2 kids.
Little
and
humans
then
involved, yeah.
Like, why are we going to do that to each other when we can just start fresh? Like, we're still at an age where we can rebuild and we both deserve to be happy. We both deserve to have this love that I just deeply inside me knew existed.
So, I mean, that sounds like it was amicable, was it?
For a minute it was. And, you know, it kind of, like, I kind of brought it on, but then it really was a mutual decision because he did kind of go, you know what? Yeah, like, it does make sense. It has just been really comfortable. Like, you know, I got along really well with his family. He got along great with mine. And he was a good person.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the hardest thing. Like, he wasn't a bad person. He wasn't abusive. He wasn't aggressive. Like, he supported me in everything that I wanted to do.
There's no infidelity. It's not like you can hate the person. Yeah, it's really
there was
hard.
none of that. And, like, he wasn't, like, and to this day, I will always say, like, he was never a bad person. That's not why it ended. But we just weren't right for each other anymore. You know, and, like, we were kids when we got together. A lot had shifted and a lot had changed in that time, but we weren't growing together or in the same direction. So naturally we just grew apart. And because of that, I thought it was just going to be so simple and nice and easy. And, you know, we sat down and we spoke about it and we agreed that we wouldn't tell anybody for like 2 to 3 weeks so that we could really be comfortable and set in stone that we had made the right decision. So if, you know, in a week and a half or 2 weeks, we thought, you know what, actually, no, we can probably make this work, or I miss you, or like whatever that is, like we can do that without any outside noise. But we got to the end of that 3 weeks and was like, yeah, there's no
See ya.
There's no coming back. Yeah, like we are so done here. And then we started telling our friends and family, and we did it together. Like, we went to my sister's house together to tell her and my brother-in-law in person, and we went and told his parents in person. We went and told my grandparents in person.
Wow.
Because we were like, we've been together for so long, and like our families are so, you know, connected, and like he's a part of my family. Like, he's been here for 15 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's been around for longer than some of my grandparents and grandkids have.
Yeah, totally.
Like, he's been a big part of the family. And, like, we were together for more than half of our adult lives, right? So it was a big thing. And to show everybody that it was a mutual thing and we had that common ground and common respect, we were doing it together. And then it was fine.
Until like, is this a cliffhanger?
It is. Until I started seeing somebody.
Oh yes, of course. It's always the way.
Yeah. It was, and I thought I went about it the right way. You know, I had the conversation with him and I just said, hey, I want to let you know that and this was months after. This wasn't like the next day or 2 weeks later. This was months after. And, you know, I just said to him, like, I want to be honest with you, and like I was living in the house, he'd moved back with his parents, and we were doing that so that I could finish working for the year because I had my business set up at home, and then I was going to move out and all of the things. And I just said, you know, I want to let you know that I'm seeing somebody, and I want to tell you so that you don't hear it from anybody else.
Yeah, it's like out of respect. And
yeah, like, you know, like we're obviously not together anymore, and life's going to happen and we're going to move on. But I just don't feel like that would be a nice thing for you to hear from somebody else, especially considering we are still on, you know, good grounds and we are talking, and he was still coming to the house because he was still utilizing the garage and, like, you know, storing his work stuff there. And it was like, you know, I was like, I don't ever want him to be here and then you get here and then it's like, well, who the fuck's this in my house kind of situation. You know, just trying to do the respectful thing. And I think a lot of ego got involved with that. And
totally. It's like,
yeah,
hard to hear at any stage.
Right.
You know, finding out that your ex has moved on.
Right. But so it was good until then.
Yeah.
So it was good for a little while and then it went to shit.
Yeah, great. And are you on talking terms now?
No. We stopped talking as soon as lawyers got involved because we agreed on certain things, and it was supposed to just be a very easy split. You get this, I get this, perfect happy days. We'll do this. Not a problem. We'll just and we had to engage in a lawyer because the house was under both of our names.
Same, yeah. You like
so like you you can't avoid it. Like you absolutely have to.
Yeah, I had the most amicable separation ever known to man, my divorce, and yet we still had to have lawyers for, you know, for legal reasons to finalize things, and you know, and I was like, I can't believe this is still costing me $10,000. It's like we're agreeing on everything, but yeah, I guess that's just part of it, right?
Yeah, and then it just, like, you know, his lawyers wrote up some stuff that we didn't quite agree on, like all that we hadn't agreed on, and I noticed it and was like, oh, hang on a minute, and he kind of just went, well, you know what, I don't agree anymore, and I was like, okay, and then that was I think 12 months.
Yeah, wow.
In court.
Great.
Love that.
All that money. We love.
We love that.
Yeah, we love wasting money. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, so disappointing. Can I ask, was the person that you started seeing Ricky?
Yes.
Oh. Yes. When you know, you know.
When you know, you know.
So for those listening and watching along, Ricky is Amy's husband and he's divine. He's such a beautiful soul.
He is.
So, okay. All right. I want to go back for a minute, just so that we can get a full picture of what life looked like, because then I want to compare it to life today. You were working as a hairdresser.
Yes.
And you ran your own business. And we were laughing before we hit record because we were talking about how the hairdressing industry can be incredibly toxic, not just from the chemical fumes that you're putting on people's scalps, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically, like the gossip, the hours, the everything.
Yeah.
You know, I come from the beauty world, very similar. And so I want to know, like, what was it like at that time for you in all areas, not just obviously your relationship, but then being in that particular industry where I think a lot of the time it's one of the few industries that I think still exists where people become a hairdresser. You know, they do their apprenticeship and then they're a hairdresser for like 30, 40 years because your identity becomes so infused with the industry. So again, like, how did you go from that to the shift that you've created now and letting go of that entire identity in that world and that business that you created?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was a very different person then. You know, it was living my best materialistic life, if you will. And it was, you know, eyelash extensions and hair extensions and like as many as I could fit in my head as possible. It wasn't like a standard full head. It was like, give me 3.5, ram them in there. And like the fake tan and the fake nails and just anything that could be fake that I could put on my body, I was doing. Botox, lips fillers, like all of the things that I am dead against now.
One day you are showing me a photo of old Amy. I am dying to see this.
No,
yes.
God, I need to burn all evidence of my past self.
I have to see this.
Oh my God, but it was just like that was also the industry as well at the time. Like it's a lot different now, but at the time it was. You had to show up in a certain way and you had to almost look the part if you wanted to play the part, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And within the industry itself, like it involved a lot of partying, right? The expos and the after parties, and like there was a lot of partying involved, a lot of drinking involved, and we would drink at work. Clients would bring a bottle of wine or cans or whatever and be like, oh my God, I just had a really bad day and let's drink together. And we'd be like, okay, let's do that. And then, you know, it was just, you know, it was toxic on so many levels, but it was all I knew as well. So I didn't really notice any difference. And like, and because a lot of my friends at the time were hairdressers, whether we worked together or they were in different salons and whatever else, everybody was the same. We were all kind of like, I remember at one salon that I worked in, there was a injectables nurse that would come in and hire the space. Like 2 days a month, she'd fly in from Sydney, and like her entire first day would be just injecting us.
I mean, it's a very smart business model.
Like so great, right? And it was everything. Like, and you would go in there and she'd be like, oh, do you want to do something a bit different today? We can do like a brow lift. And you're like, fuck it, why not? Like just load me up. Let's go. And, you know, at that time in my life, I didn't cook anything. It was just constant takeout, Uber Eats, and like there was nothing in my house but alcohol. Like literally there was never any food in my house. But you needed a bottle of vodka, you'd come to, I had 6 lined up in the back. Like there was just nothing else in my life. It was just fast food, alcohol, keeping up with like all of these beauty appointments, and then partying.
It's interesting that you're still like, because one thing I think that hairdressers don't get enough credit for is the fact that they're really unpaid therapists.
Yep.
Or low paid therapists, I should say. Although in some cases quite well paid therapists, depending on where you're getting your hair done. And I imagine, well, you tell me because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but was that part of the job that, because you're still looking after people just in a different way now, like was that part of the job that actually gave you the fulfillment? Because I know for me, when I had someone in the makeup chair, like that connection was what I held on to and what kept me in that industry for so long.
Yeah, well, I mean, I loved my clients. I think the last 6.5 years of doing what I did, I didn't see a new client because I was booked out back to back every single day I attended clients' weddings. I attended their kids' christenings. Like they became my family. And, you know, most of my clients on a Thursday, Friday night, the girls would book in for the last 2 appointments. Yeah. So then they were glam, we would drink, and then we would go clubbing. Right. Like we would leave the salon together. Yeah. Like and jump into an Uber and then go out all night. So like my clients also became like my friends. And it was wild.
So that would have made it even the more hard to walk away.
Yeah. I cried. When I did my last day, that last week, I cried as if somebody had died in my family. Like if my sister called me and told me that like one of my grandparents had died, I mourned the salon and my clients. And the last week, like the last bunch of clients that were coming would be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is it. And then I would just be like, and I would just like, I cried all day and all night for an entire week. Because I was like, fuck, what am I going to do now? And 2, where do I go from here without these people? I've seen every single one of them every 4 weeks for the last 6.5, some 15 years.
Oh my goodness.
Like crazy.
So, okay, really interesting that you just said then you were like, what am I going to do? Because I had just assumed that you already had the breath work and the new direction going when you stopped the hair stuff. So how did that whole timeline play out? And
It kind of was.
yeah, okay.
It kind of was, but it wasn't something that I could do full time. It's not something that was paying the bills.
Yeah.
It was kind of like I was doing it, like I was so fresh in it that it was almost a hobby. It wasn't a job. It wasn't a career path. It's not something that I could pay my rent with or, pay lawyers with.
Yeah.
Because that was that point of my
That's
life.
what you were doing, yeah.
So I closed the salon and then got myself a full-time job as a sales rep for Excellent Edges. So I was still in the industry, but I went full-time to work for somebody else because I knew that I wanted to move into the breathwork space, but that just wasn't going to pay the bills yet. So I needed a full-time job. And then I was just slowly doing my thing on the side, the same way that I was when I had my salon. And at the time, like I didn't have the intention to get a job and then just like quit to do this full time. It was like, I need to pay my bills and I need to kind of find something that's going to be stable and last and something that I can, do and also not completely fucking hate.
Yeah.
And I had sales experience before in the industry and I knew that I loved it. So I thought, if I can get a job doing this, great. So I was really lucky and fell into this sales role. And I was there for 12 months. And then like the breathwork stuff did just get really big. And I kind of had to make a decision, like, because I was pretty much working at that point then 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Because the breathwork had gotten so big and like my full-time gig was only 4 days a week, but full-time hours. So there were big days. And then on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
you're back to back.
I was back to back with clients and events and all of that kind of stuff with breathwork clients. And I was like, okay, well, something's got to give here because I also can't work 7 days a week.
No.
And I was like, okay, I think
it's
this
so
is
out of alignment with what you're doing in the breathwork space.
Absolutely. So had to make a decision and just went, okay, well, I think it's time to back myself and trust this journey. And then it was actually at the start of this year that I went full time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let's pedal back for a moment. How on earth did you uncover the incredible life-changing practice that is breathwork? How did it come into your life?
When I was going through all of the things that I was going through, like in that 5 years of knowing that I needed to kind of leave the relationship that I was in, it kind of just fell into my lap. Like I was following this girl.
It's almost like it finds you when it's meant to.
It really does. It really does. She'd posted something and was like, I'm doing a breathwork certification and I need some people to like do my practices on so that I can get my qualifications. If anyone's interested, can you DM me? And I was kind of like, I just messaged her and I was like, look, I've been following you for a while. I don't know what the fuck this is. I actually don't know what you do, but I'm keen. Because at that point as well, I was searching for something and I didn't know what it was. So I was just saying yes to everything, putting myself in any kind of situation that I could to try and find the thing that was almost going to save me.
Amazing. Like it's just for people that are listening along right now, that's the power of just leaning in.
Yeah.
Leaning into fear, following your intuition. Like, because there's 2 ways that can play out. You could have sat on the couch doom scrolling and been paralyzed by that fear, or you could have gone, I'm just going to keep saying yes and trust that the universe is going to bring to me what's meant to be. And everything else that's not meant for me will fall away.
100%. And so, I jumped into her DMs and she was like, yep, perfect, let's do it. And so I went and met her on the beach and she had like a group of 4 of us and it was sound healing, breathwork and a cold dip. And I just said to her, look, I'll come for the breath and the sound.
but I ain't getting in
the water. Like, fuck that. Yeah. And she was like, just bring your bathers in case. And I was like, nope, not doing it. Like, you don't know who I am. 40-degree day, I'm not getting in the water. Like I am not about the cold and I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Like I'm just coming for whatever. Like I don't even know if I'm going to like this.
Yeah.
Like
was this also tanned Amy with the hair extensions? Because I feel like that absolutely would have been like, I am not getting wet. Absolutely not.
No.
I am not washing my hair.
Yes.
I feel that. Yeah.
So like went to the beach and I don't know why, but I did wear my bathers.
Amazing.
And did the breath work. She played the sound bowls and it was in that moment that everything shifted and I was just like, what what just happened? Like, what was that? And then they were like, come on, we're going to get in the water now. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not doing it. Also, FYI, I can't swim. I don't know how to swim. So I've also got this, like, I don't have a fear of water, and I spent a lot of time in water.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to swim, and it was dark. It was a winter's morning. I was like, I can't see anything, so I'm just not doing it. They forced me, they literally dragged me screaming they were like, we're all doing it together. And I was like, fuck, what have I signed myself up to? Yes. Got in the water. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I actually went home and wrote in a journal that morning and was like, I don't know what happened, but something shifted, and I believe that this is the start of my new journey.
Wow.
And like I find that journal like once every now and then, and I open it and I'm like, fuck, like what? It's got the date, it's got everything, and I'm just like, holy, like this is like I just knew. And that was like that changed everything. I went every week for I think 12 months.
Wow. And at what point were you like, I need to become a facilitator?
I think like maybe 6 months in, like I knew, but I also knew that I still had a lot of work to do.
Yep.
So I knew that the timing wasn't right, but I was like, with how much this has actually changed my life, I know that this is what I need to do now, but I still have so much work to do, and I can't pour from an empty cup, and I can't help other people until I've helped myself. So I really lent in, and I made sure that I did all of the work before I went and did my qualifications and got my certifications and everything like that to then start doing my own thing. But it was just like it was life changing. And do you know what the funniest thing is? I drank every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There was always alcohol in my system. Like I feel like I almost like it was ridiculous, right? Partied all the time, was drinking all the time. I stopped partying as much. I stopped drinking as much. I started going to the beach in the morning to do breath work and jump into the water. And that's when people got concerned. That's when people were messaging my sister and saying, is Amy okay? And I was like, you've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding me. I'm actually starting to do things to better myself and to better my life. And now you're concerned. I was drinking myself
to death.
Stupid. Literally to death. Yeah. And doing all of these things that were so bad for me and posting it everywhere, and everybody was like, ooh, Amy's such a vibe.
Yeah, party girl.
Oh my God, yeah, let's go out. Let's do this. And then I start doing things that are actually better for me, and everyone's like, are you okay? We're concerned about you.
She's getting in cold water.
Yeah.
I mean, we are concerned. No. It's so insane though, isn't it? Because you're not towing the party line anymore. You're not following the herd. It's like, it's so interesting, isn't it? And again, it just comes for me every time. It comes back to fear. People fear change. People fear the unknown, and they're like, "Oh, this is weird. This is woo woo.
And I feel like people get really intimidated when you start doing the thing that they know that they want to do themselves, but they don't have the courage to do.
Yeah, well, you become a mirror, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same with sobriety. Like, yeah, it's really interesting who stays and who walks away when you make these changes in your life.
Yeah,
and it really shows you like who are the people that love you for you and really truly want the best for you.
Yeah. And I mean, at that point, like I hadn't stopped drinking. I was just drinking less. Like I wasn't, putting Baileys in my morning coffee anymore. Like I hadn't stopped drinking, but I just started adopting these things, and then people were concerned. And like now where I am today, like it's been, I think last week actually, it's been 2 years since I had a drink.
Congratulations, honey.
Thanks.
That's phenomenal.
2 years since I stopped alcohol and coffee on the same day, which was not fun. It was a terrible couple of weeks, let me tell you. But yeah, 2 years.
And was that for you like a cold turkey thing? Did you lean in and get any support? Like how did you go about that?
Cold turkey.
Yeah, you just
like, made a decision and was like, I'm done.
Wow. What have been some of the biggest changes that you've noticed in terms of, let's talk about your nervous system, and because I think that's like, you know, we both love talking about that. And I think it's something really great for people to sort of start to understand, like, what are some of the biggest changes that you felt within your body and in your life since making this shift, you know, in all areas? Because it's not just the fact that you now have a daily breathwork practice and that you're immersed in the space. It's not just that you gave up alcohol and coffee. Like, you've basically turned around your whole life. Like, I've been to your home multiple times. Like, everything is clean. Everything is like, it's, you know, and it's inspiring. Because I think you've got to be really committed to that. You know, it's expensive, it's an investment, it's time, but you're so committed to this lifestyle, and so is your husband, Ricky.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, tell me what are the benefits, and also just tell me, how do you stay on top of that?
The way that I feel is a huge difference, and really kind of coming back to myself and knowing now that I don't actually have to rely on anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I was constantly like, I need a drink. I need a coffee. I need this. I don't fucking need anything. Like I need sleep. Sleep and water is about all I need right now.
That's such a good point. Yeah,
that is it. But all of these other external things, I don't feel like I need anymore. And, you know, you don't realize how alcohol actually makes you feel.
Oh,
you don't realize how caffeine and the amount of coffee we have actually makes you feel. And, you know, people are like, oh, I slept for 8 hours last night and I still feel like shit. And I was like, okay, but you had 6 coffees during the day. You had 2 scotches before you went to bed.
Uppers, downers, in-betweeners.
You've been, like, you were doom scrolling on TikTok for an hour and a half before you actually got into bed. Like, no wonder you still feel like shit even though you had 8 hours of sleep. But, like, coming back to what you said, it's just also being so much calmer because I don't actually have anything in my system that's fucking with my nervous system. Like, there is nothing there. Like, absolutely everything and anything that I consume is only nourishing and nurturing my body.
Which I imagine then allows you to have such a deep trust in what your body is communicating with you.
Absolutely.
Because you know that there's nothing that's filtering the message or disrupting the message. Like, it's such a clear line of communication from your head to your heart, and you can really feel into that on all levels. And I imagine even like going into the world of like manifestation and what you bring into your life, like, you're just such a clear channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, when we decided, so Ricky and I did all of this at the same time. So we stopped drinking at the same time. He wasn't a huge coffee drinker, but we decided that we were both going to do that. That was a lot more for me than it was for him, but we did it together.
Good on you, Ricky.
And yeah,
good support. Yeah,
thanks, babe. And we also committed to like really shifting our diet and what we were consuming as well. And just went, we've got to do this properly. We're going to do it. We've got to do it properly, and we've got to be committed because it's our health. And it's the way that we feel. And if we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, we want that to be of good quality, and we want to actually live and grow old together. And we want to be like, you know, those 65-year-olds that you see up at 5 a.m, walking the beach, still fit as fuck, doing all of the things. Like, you know, I look at, you know, some of the older generation now, and they're only just like 55 and they can barely move. And I'm like, I don't want that for me.
And you make such a good point, because I was listening to, I think it was maybe The Diary of a CEO, and you know how Stephen's so obsessed with like his health and like, you know, and an intervention as a prevention.
Absolutely.
Like, he talks about, you know, I know that I need to be implementing this stuff now, because the decisions that you make now in your 30s are what's going to impact your health in your 50s and your 60s. You can't get to 50 and then go, oh, I better start looking at this now. I mean, you can, but it's going to be so late. Exactly.
It's too late. And a lot of the time, and like these are the conversations I have with a lot of people now, they're like, oh, but you know, we've got to live a little. And I was like, you're living a little, I'm living a lot.
Yes.
Like, do you know what I mean?
So
like,
Amy, I love that. It's so true.
Like, I'm actually living, you're not. And especially with alcohol, right? People are like, oh my God, it's just have 1 or 2 at balance. No. If you actually understood what alcohol, just one drink is doing to you, you know that can't be undone. So there's no balance there.
Yes.
And people use that as an excuse to make them feel better for their choices. But you're living a little and I'm living a lot, right?
Oh, babe, that is your catchphrase. That is like, we're getting t-shirts made of that. Fuck, that is your slogan. I love that. It's so true. I always think as well, like the drinking one is really funny because like, I'll be honest, when I first gave up alcohol, like I used to get FOMO and I'd see people partying on the weekends and like, you know, things like that, like the spring racing carnival and all that kind of stuff where you just like, even sometimes just the warmer weather in Melbourne, I'm like, ooh, Aperol. But like I get to wake up on Sunday and maximize a full day. Like, so yeah, you may have gotten like 3 or 4 hours on Saturday night, but I get a whole other day
because all of Saturday night and all of Sunday.
Yeah, because I'm not lying in bed hungover. Not that everyone drinks and then wastes the day, but a lot of people do. So
most people do, and you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, but why are we balancing this? Like, if we just lived in a healthy way, the way that we were supposed to, and nature intended,
and respected our bodies, we wouldn't need
balance. And we absolutely don't need a health food section in the supermarket, but that's a conversation for another day. But do you know what I mean? Like, we're kind of conditioned to think that it's okay, we can have balance. Like, let's poison ourselves a little bit and then have a salad to counterbalance it.
Totally. It's like the Bondi diet of like cocaine and green smoothies.
Yeah, love.
I say that because that was 100% me, not in judgment. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, to think that. And can you just for a second, because I think sometimes people think, well, I don't have the time or the money to live like that. But you are one of the busiest people I know, and you're not a zillionaire. So like, how do you, like, what are the sacrifices that you have? Because I just want to be really honest and transparent that like it takes hard work to live a life that is so clean, but it is so worth it. But like, what are the sacrifices?
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
You'd go out on a night out, and how much would you spend on alcohol and a bag of Coke?
I would have spent on an average weekend like $600, between $800 to $1,000.
Right. My fully organic grocery shopping for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for myself and my husband and my dog cost me $450 a week. That's less than half of what you used to spend on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, totally.
Right? It comes down to priorities. If you feel like you can't afford to buy and eat well, it's because it's not a priority for you, not because you actually can't afford to do it.
Right.
You know, we will happily go out and spend $90 on breakfast or brunch for 2 people. But, you know, you
won't get the organic broccoli.
Like Ricky and I actually worked this out last week because we were just curious about like budgeting and stuff like that, and we worked out like what our grocery bill is, because it is quite expensive, you know, if you compare it to what most people spend for 2 people. And it works out that it's $26 a meal
per person.
So breakfast costs us $26 for 2 of us, lunch and dinner. $26 for lunch for 2 of us, $26 for dinner for 2 of us for 7 days a week, plus some snacks.
That's
right?
Great, yeah.
Which is not a lot. But people go, oh, it's too expensive. But you'll go to the cafe and spend $8 on a fucking almond latte.
Yeah. Or like, you don't meal prep, then you go grab something, you're spending $20 on a salad.
And like if you calculate that, that's a lot more expensive, but you're not adding the numbers up so you don't see it. But then if you go do one big grocery shop and it's $450, you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. But you're spending more than that so person A, you're spending more than that on drugs and alcohol on the weekend. Person B, you're spending more than that on your takeaway coffees and your takeaway lunch and your Uber Eats every week, but you don't notice it because you're not doing it in like one big payment.
Yeah, it's all these tiny little increments.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of time and it seems like a lot of money, but it's actually not when you break it down.
It's so true, isn't it? And again, it just comes back to like prioritizing it.
And also like, what's your health worth?
Yeah.
Because you're going to get sick. And when you get sick, that's expensive.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have to spend all of this money on alcohol. Well, not alcohol. You have to spend all of this money on medication. Plus seeing a doctor these days is not cheap. So you're paying for appointments, you're paying for medication. And then you're like, okay, well, now that I'm sick, I'm going to start eating better. And then that's expensive.
Yeah.
But if you just look after yourself now and you do the prevention and you actually enjoy it, like eating clean is beautiful It tastes nice. It feels nice. You feel better for it. So what's more expensive?
I love, what did you say just then? Like, what's the cost of your health? What's your health worth?
Yeah.
And it's the thing that we take for granted more than anything else, isn't it?
Absolutely.
My health goes into my gratitude list like every single day.
Yeah.
Because it's just something that we don't think about it until we don't have it, until we get sick.
Yeah. And then it's too late. I see people all the time on Instagram. Oh my God, I'm sick. I just ate a thing of garlic and I made a tea with honey. It's not going to help you, hun. It's not going to help you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be having the lemon water and honey every single morning, every day of your life.
Yeah.
And cooking with onion and garlic in your meals, that's going to help you. But doing that the morning that you're already sick, it's too late.
Yeah. Do you want to know something cool? Since I got sober almost 5 years ago, I reckon I might have, maybe I've been sick like twice.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. I used to be sick all the time. Like, I'm just going to touch wood just in case, but like, I don't get sick.
It's because your body is literally purging all of the poison that you are constantly putting in it, right? And you're exhausted. You're not getting the sleep. You're not getting all of the things. Like, people that are constantly getting sick, it's because it's a reflection of their lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. The immune system and like just.
I'm the same. I used to be sick all the time. Yeah. And now I reckon I get sick like max twice a year. Same thing, touch wood.
I know. Where's
all the wood?
Don't want to jinx it. Don't want to jinx it touching the cupboards. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. No. Okay. All right. I'm very inspired by this conversation. I think it's just like such a great reminder that our health is so important and
so important
to be able to put that first. Okay. I want to talk about something super exciting that you and I are doing together. Yay. So at the beginning of this year, I ran a retreat down in Shoreham at an incredible retreat space called Atlas. How breathtaking is the space?
It's so beautiful.
It's incredible. And I invited you to come along to host a breathwork and a sound healing workshop. And that was definitely one of the highlights of the experience. All of the guests were just raving about you. I knew they would. That's why I wanted to get you down there. But we decided after that we wanted to do something together, which is why I'm so excited. We are running an incredible retreat in March 2025, which probably feels like a little bit away, but actually really it's going to be so quick. And this retreat is really all about what we've been talking about today, isn't it? Like that journey of coming back to yourself. I'm going to be teaching yoga. You're going to be running breath work and sound healing. We're going to be doing meditation. We're going to be doing tune-up releases. We're going to be doing yoga nidra, cold water immersion. It's going to be just like the most beautiful immersive experience.
And can I just mention the food? Like, the food is going to show you and teach you that you can eat and be just love the food that you're eating and feel full and like enjoy it because it is delicious and none of it's shit.
Oh my God, can I tell you, one of the guests that came to the retreat this year, she loved all of it, but her best bit of feedback was around Eliza and the food.
Amazing.
And she said that she left that retreat with so much energy because she'd been eating clean for the 3 days that we were there and that really beautiful, nutritious food. She said she was sleeping better, she had better energy, she had better bowel movement, like everything in just such a short space of time. That was like her favorite takeaway from the whole retreat. So
I love that so much.
Yes, really, really good point that the food is exceptional. We're going to be doing cacao ceremony, sunrise meditation. Like, it's just going to be, I'm so excited. If I could bring every person that I loved onto retreat so that they could experience something like this, like, it is just the most incredible gift that you can give yourself. What would you say to someone, hun, who is like maybe listening along today, who's never been on a retreat before, maybe is a bit nervous about what to expect, maybe has never done any kind of breath work or yoga before? Like, what do you think someone gets out of a retreat that they may not think about initially? Like, because I think a lot of people go, oh, well, I'm not really like a yoga person, so it's probably not for me.
I think it shows you a different way of living. And it gives you that permission, almost that you're not willing to give yourself when you go home, to make the shifts that you actually want to make, because it shows you that you can do the yoga and you can eat well and you can fit in a breathwork practice, and cold water therapy is not that hard, but it makes you feel amazing. And like it just like if you're feeling really stuck or you feel like you want to live a better life and you want to make changes but you don't know where to start, doing something like this is the perfect place to be, because not only like are we there to facilitate the space, but we're there like to guide you and to coach you
and hold you. Yeah.
Like, you know, we're both coaches in what we do. So like you get full access to us as well, to like really beautiful, deep, vulnerable conversations. And we can guide you and help you and point you in the right directions on how to make the shifts when you get home. Like, what did you really love this weekend? Let's like, how do we help you?
Yeah. How do you carry this
like,
into your life?
Integrate that into your life, because that's the point of it as well. Like, it's not just the 3 days. It's how do you take the thing that you love the most from this and integrate it into your life?
Yes,
because
I love
we
that.
want this to be a life-changing experience, not just a 3-day little getaway.
Exactly. And you and I, in case you didn't notice from this conversation, we go deep.
We're a little bit passionate about what we do.
Yeah. So like, if you just want like a light, fluffy day spa retreat, probably don't come to this.
Not going to be it for you.
But if you want to like go in and do the work and actually feel significant shifts in real time and walk away a transformed version of yourself, then this is going to be the retreat for you.
Absolutely. And it's just, you know, it's such a beautiful thing to give yourself as well. You know, we're constantly putting everybody else first and giving to everybody else, you know, and I find that with a lot of my clients, their only hesitation in working with me is the fact that they need to make an investment in themselves. And because they're so used to putting everybody else first,
100%.
making that investment in themselves feels a little bit scary. And if it does, good, lean in.
Totally.
Like it feels like that for a reason.
Yes.
And trust it, because it could potentially be the thing that changes everything for you.
Well, it's exactly like you when you were sitting on the couch and you saw that thing come up on your Instagram with that girl and you were like, I'm a little bit scared about this. I'm a little bit unsure, but I'm going to lean into the fear and do it anyway. And that changed your entire life.
My entire life, and brought me the husband of my dreams.
Which is such a good point, isn't it? Because it's like manifesting a life on your wildest dreams and drawing in everything that your heart desires starts with working on you.
Absolutely.
Like,
everything starts with you.
Yeah.
Right? Like Ricky and I had this conversation the other day, because he is doing a lot of development within his business and he's really trying to take his business to the next level. And he's a tradie. He's also a breathwork facilitator. We do a lot together, but his electrical business, and he was like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And how do I get here? And I said, don't forget, you need to come back to you. If you want to up level anything else, you've got to, like, where are we up leveling within yourself first?
Yep.
Because you can't you're not going to be able to hold that if you also don't rise with it.
I love that.
Right?
So much fire. Yes, girl. So we were chatting before we started recording as well, and we were talking about this retreat and how we really wanted to make this accessible to people so that they can experience this, because I think this is something that every single person could benefit from. So we decided to do something a little crazy, didn't we?
We did.
Oh my God. Okay. So guys, you're hearing it here first. Amy and I are running a Black Friday sale on Nurture and Nourish, which is our embodiment retreat that we're running 25th of March, 2025 down in Shoreham. So I'm going to make sure that I pop this. It's like 30% off, by the way. It's like an insane deal. But we're just hoping that this will give you the little bit of inspiration to go, you know what, I am actually worth this. Maybe you've been sitting on the fence. Maybe you're a little bit, I don't know, uncomfortable about investing in yourself.
I just had something dropping. Can I mention?
Oh my God, go. Of course. I love this.
So it's the 1st of November today as we're recording this. So it's going to be like maybe mid-November when you're listening to this. It's mid-November for Black Friday. Let this be a Christmas present for yourself.
Hell yeah.
Or tell your partner or your husband or your parents or whoever to be like, you know what? This is what I want.
Or come with your husband or partner or
even
mother.
Better.
Even better.
I
know.
Bring everyone.
Bring the whole family. Maybe don't do that. We're not. We'd love we'd like lots of people to be able to come. But you know, if you want to run a whole retreat with your family, you just DM us privately.
But that's a different conversation specifically for you.
But it could
be a Christmas free. Do you know what I mean?
100%, yes.
Like, it's that time of year where, again, we're giving to everybody else.
What are you giving to yourself?
What are you giving to yourself?
Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm going to make sure I link all of that information into the episode show notes. Of course, being a Black Friday offer, it won't be available to purchase until the 29th of November, but you can always message us and let us know that you're keen, and we'll make sure that you get notified the moment that offer goes live. We're also running payment plans. Yeah, so there's a deposit, and then you can pay it off over the course of the next 4 months. So really manageable, which is awesome as well. I'm so excited. So excited. Honey, we're getting towards the end of this conversation today. It's gone so quick.
It has. I've loved it.
I know. I love you. I adore our conversations. Is there anything else that's like really on your heart that you want to share, or you feel like we're kind of covered it off today?
I think if, like, going back on the conversation that we've had and my personal journey and experience, if you feel like you know something deep within you and you're not doing it because people around you are telling you that you can't or you shouldn't or it doesn't exist, I want you to just really fuck that off and lean in and trust yourself, because often people are telling you that because they're scared for themselves or because they're not willing to make that change for them and they don't want to see you do it, right? Everybody wants you to stay exactly where you are because that's comfortable for them, you know, and that's one bit of advice that I wish that I had received like earlier on in those 5 years when I knew what I needed to do, but I was too scared to do it because everybody else around me was saying, no, you're not good enough. It won't work. It's going to be the biggest mistake of your life. And, you know, in actual fact, it was the best thing that I've ever done for myself, and the life that I'm living now and the relationship that I'm in now is everything that I knew existed. And if I listened to everybody else, I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you. We wouldn't know each other.
Yeah, wow.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, if there's anything that I can leave with you, it's like trust the process. And that's not to say that it's going to be easy. You know, sometimes you've got to walk through the depths of hell to get to the sunshine. But, you know, what's so worse, being uncomfortable for a little bit or for the rest of your life?
Amen. So true. Amy, my love, if people want to stalk you, track you down, reach out to you, where should they go?
Instagram.
Great.
I'm across all platforms, but Instagram is where I spend most of my time.
Beautiful. And your handle is?
amymarie.mason.
Fabulous.
And my business account is lifewith.purpose.
Amazing. I'll make sure I link those as well. Honey, thank you so much for coming here and joining me today. Thank you for being in my life. I adore you, and I'm so excited to create magic with you in the months and years to come.
It's going to be beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Pleasure, honey. Bye.